and wherever you're watching from in Colorado, across the United States. We are here and lucky enough to meet and have a conversation with Chef Brother Luck and a few instrumental leaders in the local area when it comes to Army recruiting and Army in general. Open up, we're gonna have a discussion about leadership, inspiration, motivation, and everything in between about really what the success equation is and how you can become successful as a leader, mentor, and what you have to do to do that before you can become a leader. So I'm going to go ahead and let these gentlemen give their bios, and we're going to start with First Sergeant Marshall, and take it away.
All right, I'm First Sergeant Jason Marshall. I was born and raised in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I joined the Army in 2001. I really had nothing going on for myself. I was couch surfing, trying to find guidance and maybe some direction in my life. Joined the Army. I got lucky enough to get stationed in Italy. I went all over Europe. All my friends were in community college and big time college, and I was traveling Europe having the time of my life. I picked the job infantry and had an airborne option to it, so I got to jump out of planes. I came to recruiting in 2010, came kicking and screaming, did not want to be a part of it, but fell in love with it. I really enjoyed helping people get that first step in life, whether they made it a career in the Army or did one tour and got out and did something else. I've been in for 20 years almost, and I love every day of it.
Captain Trinkle.
Yeah, I'm Captain Josh Trinkle, commander for Colorado Springs Army Recruiting Company. Little farm boy. I came out of a rural community in Ontario, Oregon. Grew up farming, working with my hands all the time. I enlisted back in 2007 as an infantryman, and then went back into college in ROTC, and then came up as an engineer. Started out my career, we went downrange to Afghanistan and ran route clearance, so trying to pull IEDs out of the ground before the maneuver guys ran over them. And then came back to the States and ran engineering type projects and construction type things for Fort Campbell for a while, and then I've been in company leadership on through then, and that brought me where I am here today. Sir?
Hey, my name is Lieutenant Colonel Mike Olson. I was born on a 300-acre farm out in northwest Wyoming. Not much out there. I call it rural country, but most of Wyoming's rural. And I spent a lot of time traveling as a young kid with family back and forth between Idaho and Utah, where I eventually graduated high school was Utah. But as we were traveling down the interstates, I'd always see this convoy of green or whatever vehicles rolling down, and it just fascinated me as a kid. I thought, man, how do you do that? How do you join that? I want to drive one of those vehicles, right? So after I graduated high school, I talked to some recruiters and joined the National Guard. And what they never tell you is that those vehicles don't have air conditioning. So I thought, well, there's got to be something better. So I went to college, and I've always had a fascination with helicopters and aviation in general. And so I was fortunate enough to branch aviation in the U.S. Army. I went to flight school after I graduated college, and they didn't tell me those don't have air conditioning either. But we take the doors off to make up for that. But I've been doing that for the last 19 years before coming to this job as the battalion commander for the Denver Recruiting Battalion. And we cover Nebraska, Colorado, and southeast Wyoming. We have 39 recruiting stations that we're in charge of.
Chef?
I'm Chef Brother Luck. Born in San Francisco, inner city, nowhere near a farm. And I've been cooking since 1996, which is pretty surreal. Got into culinary out of necessity. Food was a scarcity. I've been on my own since I was 14, so to have the option of a steak dinner and a couch to sleep on, those things were really ideal. Got into a vocational program when I was 16 years old, moved to Phoenix, Arizona. Getting into that vocational program actually gave me great and inspiration. I had really good mentors. A lot of people always ask me, how did you become a chef? How did you find that passion so young? It's because I had grown men actually tell me good job, and that positive reinforcement actually encouraged me to want to receive that attention more and more and more. So I pursued culinary. I actually was going to the Army, and the recruiter said my asthma was too extreme and it wasn't seasonal allergies. So I ended up competing in culinary competitions throughout high school. Ended up graduating high school with a $30,000 scholarship that sent me to culinary school. So from there, traveled all over the world, Japan, China, just been everywhere, worked for some major hotel companies. And then when I was 30, I decided I wanted to do it for myself. So I jumped off the cliff and built an airplane on the way down. And yeah, here we are 8 years later, still surviving.
First Sergeant Marshall, becoming a leader, how important is it to understand how to be a follower before you can lead people?
Well, I think it's dire. I mean, you can't lead unless you know how to follow first, right? That's how we do it in the Army. Everybody comes in as a private or a specialist if they've got a bachelor's degree, but they're still treated like privates. You still have to follow that NCO. And I remember back as a private, I had a team leader, and that dude, I don't even know where he's at now in life. He could be retired, he could still be in. But that guy like lived with the entire fire team. Like he was with us constantly, no matter what. Like if we were going out to have fun, he was coming with us. If we were there to work, he was working with us, and really set that tone of, as that first level leader, you're in the fight with your team no matter what that is at all times. And I tried to emulate that as best I could. I had examples in the Army of poor leadership and like brother was saying, the yelling and the screaming, and I've realized it with coaching my kids is I can get a way better product through motivation and encouragement than I can from screaming obscenities and telling them that they're wrong. So I think it's very important.
But I think, and Chef, it's kind of a question for you too, is really, I think the lines blur less when it comes to military, and like you were talking before we started was, there really is no, it's kind of together when it comes to military, working on a line, or being in the kitchen or wherever else, when it comes to standards and discipline, and then following and understanding what's been told to you to make sure you accomplish it. So when it comes to you and you starting up, how did it kind of evolve for you in that process of learning, what right looks like?
I think there's definitely a generation change in mindset. We didn't question. You were told to do something, you did it to the best of your ability, and you got it done. And as we look at team members now, this is a unique time because we have, baby boomers, we have Gen X, Y, Z, millennials, all in the workplace. And when it comes to the restaurants and how we have to lead, the consequences, the repercussions aren't as severe as versus being in the military. You don't have a choice. I told you do something, get it done. You get a lot of feedback here in the business. So for me, it's constantly educating our leaders and our staff to understand that we have to approach each other as individuals. Everyone has a different story, everyone has a different background, everyone has different triggers, and if you understand who those people are as individuals, you're going to be able to lead them better. So, we're doing this transition right now with 2 key leaders here in this restaurant, and they came in hot. They came from our other establishment, which is an upscale restaurant, and they came in with that mindset that we're going to run this place just like that place because we've been successful. That's why we got our promotions. Problem is that this is a different beast. This is a different animal. It doesn't run the same way. So they came in so hot last week where they presented themselves as, no, this is the way we're doing it. You guys, we're here for a reason. In reality, we want you to grow. We want you to become leaders in this new establishment because you've shown us something. We don't want you to come in and just ruin culture, right? So protecting culture is the constant challenge every day. So this whole week for me has been coaching and growing these 2 leaders to understand that this team wasn't doing bad. It just needs they need love right now, not harshness. And we're going to get to that point, but a lot of it is getting back to basics. Where are the systems? Where are the protocols? Where is everything that's in your head needs to be on a piece of paper. It does no one any good if only one person knows how to do it. We have to communicate all of this stuff. So we're pushing really hard in this establishment right now to change that culture, but at the same time protect the leaders and the staff from each other. I mean, you know, they're like, I'm done with this place. That was too much. I'll never work another week like that. You know, this is someone who's had 2 years of tenure. You're like, okay, breathe. Use your words. Now let's talk through this. How do we resolve? So it's constant. It's a constant challenge.
Sure.
So, Chef, I'm going to ask you a question then, because Sergeant Major and I were having that conversation today. We get a lot of changeover in the Army, and a lot of times people come in and they want to make these drastic changes and fix something that maybe not broke. So how have you solved that here in the restaurant, and how can I take that back to the our formation and keep people from trying to fix what's not broken and try to change everything when it doesn't need to be changed?
Yeah, my wife was actually the one who called me out on this last night. Her and I were having the conversation after our discussion, and she said, well, did you give, as the leader, did you give a very clear expectation, and how did you communicate that to your leaders on how to actually deliver that message? Or did you just say, hey, we're bringing you guys over here, we need you to fix it? So it made me kind of question, how did I set the tone, and was I very clear about, these are the great people that are left, protect them, or no, I want you to come and fix everything? So I had to question that first part. The second was I had to humble the leaders by breaking them back down to following and learning. So one of the things we're actually doing is one of those leaders are actually stepping into a production role and bartending all weekend and getting into the grind, doing the shift, and earning the respect of the staff. And I'm hoping that that's going to be a good solution, because then there's trust that's established within the team and this new leader. So I'm trying to humble that person by putting them into the very basic part of the production, to hopefully build trust so they don't break. And they know who the people are. I mean, I think you learn someone, when you're side by side and you're fighting it out, or you're in the weeds, you learn someone's personality really well. And I'm hoping that that's what happens this weekend.
That's awesome.
And so Colonel Olson, a couple things to kind of, I hate saying this word, but caveat. It's just overused. I apologize. But when it comes to giving advice to future leaders, so when we talk about the coming up generations, and I'd like to give all your guys' perspective on this, but giving advice to the 17 or 18-year-old that's kind of trying to figure out where they fit in this world.
Yeah, great question. So, I wish I would have been told early on in my career to be who I am, right? I had to learn the hard way to identify who I was, what makes me tick, and to not try to be somebody else. As a young platoon leader, I had a great company commander, and I wanted to be just like him. But his leadership style wasn't my personality, so I had to learn how to adapt and to develop my own leadership style. So I would tell a young person to be true to who they are, to their principles, to their core values, and then to look for mentors, look for and leadership is not you don't become a leader and then that's the end state, right? It is a constant process. We talked a little bit about it earlier. We were talking about theory. It's not something that you reach that point where you're a great leader. It's a constant developing process. And the other thing I would tell a young leader is, like I said, just to be based off of core principles and values. We have the values in the Army of loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. My favorite one of those is selfless service. I think being a servant leader and showing the people that you lead and guide that you care about them and that they truly do matter is probably one of the most important things we can do, because they will then, in my experience, then want to do a lot more and give a lot more. And I've been the same way with those that have inspired me. We talked about earlier about inspirational leaders, and I'm willing to give 200% to those leaders that are inspiring and motivating and care about me and my family.
Now we're gonna probably step on each other a little bit here with the same thing, but I'd like to give everybody perspective. But Captain Trickle.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody coming up these days, I would tell them, anytime in your career, you just need to keep your eyes and ears open that a good idea can literally come from anywhere. And the second that you don't want to listen to somebody because of their background or their stature at the job or anything like that, you're selling yourself short, because good ideas literally come from every direction. And great leaders, they don't. You don't stand at the top and just be like, I'm the only one that will have good ideas and decide what's going to happen with this. The great leaders are the ones who open up the floor on certain occasions and allow people to put in their input, because people see things differently from different perspectives. Sometimes the guy at the bottom or the guy mopping the floor or something like that, he sees a lot. He sees just as much as anybody else does at certain times, and he may see more even based on his proximity to the leadership. And so being willing to hear what he has to say, or she, excuse me, and what they think might help make the organization better, can be a very profound way to influence an organization and show people that you aren't just trying to be the boss, but somebody that's actually trying to make something better.
So I know Chef Brother Luke's got kind of a heart out here to get to his other restaurant to make awesome things happen over there too. But I'd love to go really around the room and just talk about things that are happening in the future, what's upcoming. We'll end with Chef Luck, and we'll start with Cat Trickle first arm about the Springs recruiting, what's upcoming, what do we have going on, and our closing comments that you guys might want to put out there.
We've got the Baton Death March tomorrow coming up. We're going to go up to the Air Force Academy, knock out a marathon with weight at 7,500 feet. It's going to be a good time. We're going to bring snacks and just go for a little walk. We also have a partnership we're trying to set up with Shields and work with them and utilize that stuff. We'd also like to continue hanging out with Chef Luck here and hanging out, just talking. I'm really enjoying that. And what was the last one?
Yeah. Additionally, too, is just look out for more essential worker awards. I know Chef Luck recently was awarded that a couple weeks ago, and we're going to continue to do that across Colorado Springs and maybe even across Colorado. So look out for more essential workers. You're recognizing folks in the community just doing great stuff for their community, their business. And those types of things. So if you have any recommendations, if you have anybody out there that that's just doing awesome stuff, reach out to us, reach out to the U.S. Army Recruiting Command in the Colorado Springs area, and let us know who they are and what they're doing so we can try to recognize them.